Today's math strategy video is on dividing decimals. Let's look at our first strategy with dividing decimals using place value blocks. So just remember that our hundreds here is our one whole and our tens are tenths here. So let's look at our first problem that says 6 divided by 3 tenths. So I want to see how many sets of 3 tenths there are in each one of these wholes. Let's go ahead and let's build that. So I'm going to create groups of 3 tenths. So here would be one group of 3 tenths. You can also notice that 3 tenths would be the same as 30 hundredths. So if I counted these up, there would be 30 smaller blocks. So 30 hundredths. Remember that in one of the previous videos, this small block equaled a hundredth. So you could also think of it that way. I'm going to continue on and make another group. Then another. So I can see that I have 3 groups of 3 tenths in one whole. That makes sense because 3 times 3 is 9. And then if I had 10 tenths, I'd have 1 tenth left over. 10 divided by 9 would be 3 with 1 left over also. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to continue this, and I am going to circle out our groups the very best that I can in the rest of our wholes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count up how many sets of 3 tenths I have. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to wait for these tenths that I have left over, and I'm going to combine them to make as many groups of 3 tenths as I can. So I'm going to just count these for right now. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to count these groups. So I have, that's 1 tenth, 2 tenths, that's 3 tenths. So I have one more set, 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths. So I have another group plus my 18. That gives me 20. So I have 20 groups of 3 tenths. So I want to think about this like a pattern. So if I had 6 divided by 3, that would give me 2. Now, if I looked at the problem that we just did, if I move this decimal back to the left, that means that this is 10 times smaller than the 3 wholes that I have here. So my answer would be 10 times more because I'm getting the groups are smaller, so I would have more of them. So think about what would my answer be if I had 3 hundredths and I wanted to take 6 and divide it by 3 hundredths. What would my answer be? Well, it would be 200. Because if you think about it, here, I'm going to use this as an example. Instead of looking for 30 of these blocks like we did, I would be looking for 300ths and how many groups of 300ths I would have. So remember in a previous video, we renamed these little smaller blocks. We renamed them 100. So I would count those up and I would have 200 of them. So knowing this pattern is very important. Let's look at another example. So now we have 5 divided by 25 hundredths, and we're going to use a number line for this. So just know that in 5th grade, you will only have a decimal either in the dividend or the divisor. In this case, it is a divisor. Later on, when you get to 6th grade, you will divide using decimals in all different places. So I'm going to think about this 5 divided by 25 hundredths. 25 hundredths is kind of, this is the same thing as if I had a quarter. So, because that is how you would write the value of a quarter. Well, how many quarters do I have in $1? Well, I have 4, so I know that each of these is going to be divided into 4. So each would have a value of 2,500s. Well, I want to know how many groups of 2,500s I would have in 5. So if I have 4 in $1, how many would I have in $5? Well, let's count them to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I would have 20 sets of 2,500s in our 5 holes. Now when you think about, if I move this decimal to the right, how many sets of 2 5/10 would I have? Now remember from the previous problem, we moved the decimal actually to the left, and that meant that our answer was 10 times larger. Well, now we're moving the decimal to the right. So our answer should get 10 times smaller. So this would be 2. Now if you think about it, right here would be 2.5. So if I thought about how many groups of 2.5, that's one group, there's another group. So I would have 2 groups of 2.5 in this problem. That's the end of today's math strategy video.